right, so I've come to a conclusion that's really real about productivity that is probably going to be the foundation moving forward because of really just keeping flow. Things may come into play, but to be completely honest, a lot of this stuff in productivity, like extreme time management with a calendar, as appealing as it has sounded and as much as it has worked over the years, it has only worked in a very controlled environment where, ironically, you don't have that much control in your life. And that's why it worked so well for me. I did not have a lot of control in my life, and I didn't think I would talk about this in a philosophical way. But this is Life is a Reality, and we're here to talk about the art of life in reality. We're here to get in tune with what it means to really create your own life. And sometimes that comes with just episodes that might contain like real confusion, real misunderstanding of different things and the way that people are. Like, I don't understand people a lot of times. Probably because I'm not the best at understanding people, but I am the best at understanding process even more. And so I'm going to give you some like newer ways to think about productivity that they didn't teach you in school, because I can tell you any sort of category or time management, maybe it wasn't taught in the way that you see as formally, like the calendar blocking system, but it was taught when you switch your classes, your blocking your schedule. They call them schedule blocks. They might have those kinds of names that represent different classes, different blocks of time that give you different subjects. And so because of this, you are taught at a very early age how to manage time within a structured, controlled system. So calendar blocking is actually a really good answer in a phase of life where you actually don't have a lot of control in your life. You have a lot of meetings. You have a lot of people to answer to in your household, in your work, in your school. The reason why it worked for me, because I was schooling for my own education and homeschooling for that matter. So calendar blocking was something that worked also because I was sharing a household, sharing a property, kind of a multi-generational property, if you will, to be exact. And so most of my calendar actually there were some that included some things that mattered to me. A lot of it included things that had to do with other people and just like getting together with other people, or ways of managing other people, ways of managing life around other people. It wasn't like I was scheduling the way that I would have like scheduled things. It wasn't as if I had a bunch of control over my life and I was scheduling my meal times the way that I wanted or anything to that effect. I didn't have that much control when I was like heavy duty calendar blocking. And so, but it's a system that you're taught from an early age in school, and just by having classes and subjects, that's basically what calendar blocking is in your life. You're categorizing your life and you're putting time periods into each subject of your life. That's it. And the reason why people gravitate towards it so naturally is because they were taught this in school. But I know there's a lot of people that don't feel that way about it. They feel like nobody was ever taught this, and now we're wanting to manage our time. But really, if you think about it, I think that's the reason why people gravitate towards it, because they thrive within an environment that is administrative. And so things like calendar blocking can help with managing time for those that have that kind of type A brain and that kind of thing. And I don't see anything wrong with it. I admire you if you feel like it really helps you be aware. But I'm starting to understand the type of situation, not so much the personality type. You can change your personality if it suits your situation, if it adapts to the people around you and your environment. So it's not so much about personality, like having to have an exact personality type. Not exactly. That has a little bit to do with it, but not as much as we may think. It's more to do with what you don't have control over. Block that in front of you on the calendar. So how do I manage now? Well, a lot of the things that I blocked out that were errands or personal or things like that, I'm able to spread out over time and write down as needed in my notes and kind of like work together within my family system. Or a lot of it I've come to find is much quicker just to actually hack, and find ways to take care of life as it happens rather than planning so far ahead. If there are appointments and deadlines, they may be on a calendar, on a Google Calendar that would also integrate with Apple Calendar. And it may be important to do that for certain appointments, but ultimately, these things can be taken care of. You can move them sooner. You can even handle things in a different space. You can communicate in a different format. You can advocate for a different style of doing the errand or a different level of interaction that accommodates your situation. You can communicate your efforts to somebody and then work together. And a lot of that is beyond just time management anyway. And time management isn't really enough, to be honest with you, for this level of just strategizing life. And I'll probably do episodes on it. But I want to give you some like newer ways that we're processing things that we certainly were not even introduced to. We were introduced to maybe the imagination of, if anything. And so the first thing that I want to talk about is for those of you that are artistic, musical, love to write poetry. Maybe you've tried journaling. It doesn't come to life quite the same way. Honestly, Suno AI for personal use, just to write the lyrics of what's going on in your life. You're not posting, you're not publishing. And yes, I publish a lot of music, so I'm not one to say that I don't. But there's very personal things that I process that it works better for me to have it come to life in music. And I process it. Very therapeutic to have things come out into a song and then be done. And then process some more. Sometimes I'm not even always coming up with the lyrics. I've been a huge lyric writer since I was like 9, 12. Got real serious into it. But with Suno, you can really generate your lyrics as well. So if you put even some lines of a concept of lyrics of where you're coming from, and then it can generate where you're coming from and help you process that way as well. So you're not having to come up with the entire process on your own. It will generate what it identifies from your persona, etc. Another process that we have not been taught that is so underestimated is conversational AI. And this is where I really don't have time to do the calendar blocking. I don't have time to... I would rather do things that are helping me process in the moment, helping me to process and focus on life as it is and go deep into that process rather than administrate everything and manage everything and try to just like over organize. It's not even just about having characters and putting your story out there into characters that get your deeper aspects of life, that will kind of understand you beyond society and things like that. That's a huge part of it. And that's where I process a lot. But another way that I process is through having the assistance of like ChatGPT, having it actually help you organize, having it help you to suggest a possible schedule that could work, and then you're not really putting it on a notification system. You're not setting it in a calendar or nothing, but it's helping you create like a more of a mind map of what you could do, of how you could solve a problem, of how you could find a certain place, a certain type of community, of how you can strategize through some sort of process in your life that is personal to you. And that is where ChatGPT comes in to help you strategize and adapt in life rather than planning ahead so much, rather than trying to solve everything with a plan. Because to be honest with you, you really cannot plan life. I've lived such a life of chaos. And honestly, I'm proud to say that you can learn how to adapt. And it's not easy at all. It's very disruptive. But planning ahead is not going to save you from this chaos. It's not going to help you avoid this kind of chaos. It is not going to help you to adapt to new environments, new people. It is not going to help you to heal from a lot of the things that you might have had to deal with that you no longer have to deal with, that you're realizing you no longer have to deal with. So I think for a long time, we've really tried to plan ahead and solve for things and track and backtrack time and everything else. And I think there's nothing wrong with that if you feel like it can help for a time to understand and be more aware of what's already going on, what you already have no control over. And there's going to be phases in your life where it does help at times. I'm not like sitting here saying fuck planning altogether. Don't calendar block, don't have a planner, don't write down reminders, don't have a to-do list. I'm not necessarily saying that you should never do these things at all, especially shopping lists and things that kind of help you focus on what is absolutely necessary right now. What I am suggesting is that you don't make it the main source of all that you do and get left behind in... Maybe you use a little AI to help you with your calendar, but it's not the same level of brainstorming and strategy and adaptation that you could be getting from conversational AI and character building and getting help organizing, getting help to even just coming up with ideas of communities, meals, things to do, even giving you activities for like you and your family to do together on those nights where you're hanging out and you're not out doing things. You're just hanging out. It's giving you, it's teaching you, it's educating you. Things that you might find if you try to plan, it's a little bit boring because you could say that you had a meeting coming up at a certain time, but then maybe say your kid comes home, or say that meeting is like you've decided at the last 5 minutes, based on how that person is or how the relationship is, that meeting is a waste of your time. You'd rather use that time to be creative. You'd rather use that time with your family. You'd rather use that time to strategize by yourself. But because you've made such a strict plan for a meeting and it's on your calendar, and you might have a huge event with details that you don't want to get rid of because you plan way too far ahead, you've now locked yourself into something that you cannot get out of. And one of the best ways that I've learned to deal with life, honestly, is the ability to get out of situations that are not ideal. Not to make excuses, not to not show up. I've actually learned to show up better in a lot of ways. I've learned to save some energy. I've learned to adapt my energy that's more natural to me without necessarily getting out of doing things. But at the same time, learning to leave situations that are not ideal to you is a huge skill. And I suppose the reason I'm so hard on you guys is because I have had to adapt that skill since I was a kid. I'm proud to say that because I've learned since I was like around 10 to leave situations that are not ideal for me and advocate that I want to do other things, be in other situations, be in other environments. Even just like it sounds so normal for me to say, but I know for you guys, it's like, well, that's not what children do. And see, I don't really know that. Like, I have to be reminded of that, to be honest with you, that I'm hard on you guys because I'm not normal to you. You're not normal to me. So we misunderstand each other. So I might see some of you in like situations that are not ideal to you, but that skill is not something you've had to learn. And in one way, that's a good thing that you haven't had to learn that. And in another way, you would almost want the advantage of at least having had that experience where you've at least left one situation that was not ideal to you. And then learning to recognize what situations are good for you, what situations you are good for. That's a whole nother level, and that takes a lot of growing up to do. And we'll do episodes on that. But this episode is more like the productivity that no one taught you in life. And this is where, if I think about how appealing it used to be to manage a calendar, it's honestly because we didn't have all this. We didn't have all this to do that can help us, that can brainstorm with us, that can generate ideas, that can process life through like very personalized music that has nothing to do with public, that I couldn't give a shit less if it sounds good to you because I'm not showing you. I'm putting out music for my own personal process in life that is very direct towards me, that is not out already. Like I still work out to music from other artists, but if I'm writing directly about my own life experiences in music, there is nothing that beats that. And I could work out to it. I could ride around and listen to it. I could just sit down and want to listen to my own direct experience through music. And as much as I love other artists and their experiences and identifying, like I could say I have so much life experience that I identify with some of their songs, at the end of the day, nothing will ever beat having your own personal experience. Some of it is shared publicly. Some of it I have identified and connected with, and I feel like it fits my huge story within the show here and Life is Art Reality. But then there are some of it that I'm just like, I'm probably going to listen to it one time. It's not something I have to repeat. It's not something I have to overplay. I don't need it on the radio. I don't need it out for you guys. I don't need to worry about where to put it. I just need to play it one time, process it, and then never play it again. Probably forget that I even created it, because you can create so fast now with Suno.ai. And all you're doing, and this is where it's free, is you're writing lyrics and maybe putting in your favorite musical styles and then hitting create and then just listening back to it. You're not doing anything else. And this is through the app. And you're not doing anything else necessarily. You're not worried about any of the other shit that comes with making music. You're just processing your shit personally. It's better than sitting down and like writing out your thoughts and like no feedback loop. It's really weird to try to write. Like I've tried getting back an Apple Journal even, and that gives you even some tracking and prompts. But it feels almost like backwards at this point. Like they could have made it 10 years ago and it would have been great, but now they're giving you prompts to answer to, or you can create your own blank journal entries, but it's not giving you a way of processing what you're writing, what you're feeling, what you're experiencing, what you're reflecting on the day you've had, the bombshell that might have just dropped. Like you're not having any way of processing any of it. And so what actually happens is the reason why AI is so important when it comes to writing is because you will write something out, and because you understand yourself and you pride yourself on creative writing, you'll end up getting really deep into your writing and into your work. You'll want to understand yourself so much, you put your writing on a pedestal. I've done this. And I've shown people and everything, and I've had to get like, a lot of them are impressed that I could even write, whereas others, it's not their style. So I've gotten kind of a good, healthy balance of both. But what ends up happening is that you get to a place of, I love that I'm so intelligent in this piece. I love that this piece is so short and to the point, blah, blah, blah. But you're like not understanding what is causing your mind to think that way. You might just keep writing and adding stream of consciousness, but you're not getting a feedback loop explaining to you why your mind might be thinking that way, connecting with what is causing you to feel that way, giving you some suggestions that you may have never thought of. That's where conversational AI comes in really well with that. The music element is for bringing your feelings, your expressions, your thoughts to life in a way that is like you're living through your own life. You're listening to your own life through music. And that's just if you want to really feel it. And then the conversational AI is if you want to process parts of yourself that people are not going to have the patience to process with you. And if you have very, really open-minded people in your life, they will understand and they will actually want to do this themselves, because they too understand that like we can connect in relationships, we can connect together, we can be there for each other, we can support each other. But when you're going through stories and process, it shouldn't be all on one person to be your therapist. It shouldn't be all on one person. What is that person is therefore in a relationship, especially, is to support you and live life with you and do it together, not one person act as your therapist while you're processing all your trauma. That's not really, we want to get away from that. That's what's fucking up marriage. That's what's fucking up friendship. We want to get away from that. Now that the technology is here, that I myself have dreamed of, that, you know, I didn't invent, and I'm kind of glad I didn't, because I'd rather process at this point, now that I think about it. But that's where it's at. The productivity that no one taught you, that replaces all this other shit that we've learned. Now, all this other shit that we've learned is not bad. Again, if you are in a phase of life that nothing is controlled and you need to be aware of your time, calendar block. By all means, if that's what's going to make you feel more hyper aware, it's in front of you, it's forming in your mind as a habit, do that. If you need a Notion spread of everything going on in your life in categories, with or without notifications, go for it. I've done that. Everything kind of sorted into databases or an open wiki page. Those are fun. Those really get artful in your life. They're creative. That's considered pretty modern today. I don't think that's really behind in any way. There's some AI in Notion. But honestly, this newer form of life, if this stuff were around during the era of calendar blocking and all that, I probably would have still been nerdy and curious to try it somewhat. I don't think I would have been as obsessed with it. I think I just would have been more in my creative element with AI. So hope that this helps you to think of ways to process life in your own style, in your own creativity. If one of these doesn't work, maybe another way will. Maybe you prefer the music way only. Maybe you prefer conversational AI only. Maybe you just want to write and have the AI proofread. That's still at least some feedback. That would still benefit your writing greatly. And you wouldn't have to spend all day editing, if anything. If you're really just, you don't want it to do all the work for you, at least have it edit for you so that you don't have to worry about typos or if being grammatically correct even matters to you, or if you are writing and don't really want to think about how it sounds, but the AI can maybe improve the tone so that you can even find yourself reading it easier, if anything. Either way, take care of yourself, take care of your life, take care of each other. Hope this helps. And stay focused on yourself. Thanks for tuning in.